Let's talk about the year 2026. It's one of those years that isn't really about one single big thing. Instead, it's defined by these powerful, almost contradictory forces pulling in different directions. And today, we're going to unpack the three biggest tensions that are really shaping our near future.
So just to set the scene, let's look at the headlines from just the first few months of 2026. I mean, it's wild. In January, you've got U.S. forces arresting Venezuela's president. Then boom, February, a war kicks off in Iran. March rolls around, and suddenly there's this historic shift happening between Cuba and the U.S. And then in April, a huge political upset in Hungary. Now, on the surface, these all seem totally disconnected, right? But what they really show us is a world that's in this state of constant, unpredictable change. And it's exactly this instability that creates the perfect storm for the big tensions we're about to dive into.
And that brings us right to our first huge tension, AI. We're talking about the incredible, almost dizzying acceleration of artificial intelligence. And look, this isn't just about cool new gadgets or apps on your phone. No, this is a force that is fundamentally reshaping entire economies, changing what it even means to work. It's creating these massive opportunities on one hand and some pretty deep anxiety on the other.
So check this out. What we see here are two totally different ways of tackling the AI revolution. On one side, you've got China, with this very top-down, state-driven push for global dominance. They're aiming for total tech supremacy with their AI plus policy. But then you look at India, and it's a completely different story. It's much more of a ground-level focus, really digging into how AI is going to reshape the job market, not by getting rid of jobs, but by completely changing their nature.
And honestly, this is the key takeaway. The real story about AI in 2026, it's not some sci-fi movie where robots take over everything. It's much more about a fundamental shift in what we, as humans, are actually being asked to do. That economic survey makes it super clear. The repetitive, routine, kind of boring tasks, yeah, those are the first things getting automated. So this isn't about mass unemployment. It's really about a mass reskilling. It's pushing human work towards a whole different set of skills.
So that begs the question, right? If AI can know and process information way faster than any of us can, what's left for us to do? Well, this right here is the answer. Our value is shifting. It's moving away from simply knowing stuff to judging stuff. Things like interpretation, critical thinking, and just having the confidence to look at an AI's output and say, wait a minute, is that right? Those are becoming the absolute premium human skills in this new world.
Okay, so let's pivot to our second big tension because it builds directly on this. While technology is moving at this insane, blistering pace, there's this really powerful human counter-reaction happening. They're pushing back. They're pushing back against the non-stop, relentless demands of the modern workplace.
What we're seeing is that burnout is no longer just some personal problem. It's evolving into a full-blown business crisis. For years, if you burned out, it was seen as your failure to cope. But that's changing. Now, companies are finally recognizing that widespread stress, especially when it hits their managers, is a direct threat to their productivity, to their bottom line. It's not just an HR issue anymore. It has officially become a boardroom-level risk.
And if we need proof in dollars and cents, here you go. $438 billion. That's the estimated cost of a disengaged workforce to the global economy every single year. So yeah, this is not some soft HR issue. It's a massive, massive drain on economic output that leaders just can't afford to ignore anymore.
Okay, so think about it. As the pace of work just keeps getting faster and the pressure keeps mounting, what do you think people value the most? Is it more money? A fancy title? What's become the real currency in our professional lives?
It's time. Simple as that. Time to do deep, focused work. Time to actually recover. And really importantly, time to learn all these new skills we need for an AI-driven world. That's why over half, 52% of professionals now say flexible hours are totally non-negotiable. It's official. Time is the new money.
All right, on to our third and final tension. Because while all this is going on, the tech explosion and the human pushback, there's another layer. On the world stage, nations are repositioning themselves. It's like a great global scramble for security, and more, for self-reliance.
This table is actually a fascinating peek into China's strategic thinking. Just look at the difference between their last 5-year plan and the one for 2026. See that shift? The focus is turning inward. They're going from worrying about global supply chains to monitoring their own internal real estate and local debt. They're moving from a focus on biosecurity to managing the risks of AI. It's a really clear pivot toward protecting the homeland, making it stronger against shocks, whether they come from inside or out.
And it's not just China. You see this happening all over the globe. Nations are all in on self-sufficiency.
You've got the EU talking about Europe's independence moment, especially when it comes to energy. You're seeing brand new alliances pop up, like that huge trade deal between the EU and India. And at the exact same time, old ties are breaking, treaties are expiring, major organizations are being left behind. The message is pretty clear, right? In a world this uncertain, countries are hedging their bets and carving out brand new paths for themselves.
So let's take a step back. How do you make sense of all this at once? You have technology pulling us into the future at lightning speed, you have the human workforce feeling that strain and pushing back, and then you have the entire political world fracturing and reforming right before our eyes. So let's tie these threads together.
Really, the world of 2026 is built on these three pillars, and they're all connected. The insane pace of AI creates new pressures, which then fuels that human response, the burnout, the demand for time, and all of this is playing out on this global stage where nations are scrambling to protect themselves. These aren't three separate stories. They're the intertwined forces that are really defining this moment in time.
And that leaves us with one last really important question. In a world where knowledge is basically automated and global stability is anything but guaranteed, what's the one human skill that matters more than anything else? What's that uniquely human thing we can develop for ourselves and for our organizations that will help us navigate whatever comes next? That, right there, is the big question for 2026.